In the chaos and turmoil that had surrounded him, Aeneas gathered his family and fled Troy, abandoning the city to the Greek invaders. Desperate for a new home, Aeneas sailed from country to country, journeying across the Mediterranean, when he came upon a fledgling kingdom and its queen, Dido. While there, Aeneas captured the heart of the queen. However, circumstances required him to leave the country. Queen Dido would never forgive Aeneas for what he had done. Before killing herself, she condemned Aeneas and his descendants to eternal damnation. Aeneas' travels would eventually land him in Laurentum, where he and his family, along with a small group of his followers, would create a fledgling city. The surrounding Latins didn't take well to the foreigners, and conflict would soon emerge. The Latin king, Latinus, however, sought peace with Aeneas, and offered his daughter Lavinia to solidify peaceful relations between the two groups. Turnus, prince of the Rutuli, stood in shock that Lavinia had been given to this foreigner, and declared war on the Latins. Aeneas and Latinus defeated the Rutuli, but Latinus was killed in the fight. Aeneas now had sole control over the two groups. The defeated Rutuli then pleaded with the Etruscans in the north to assist them in putting down this invader. The Etruscans agreed and set off with the Rutuli to defeat Aeneas. However, Aeneas defeated the force and created a newfound respect for these Trojan Latin barbarians in the south. Aeneas would eventually die, and his first son Ascanius would inherit the title of king. Ascanius established new cities and developed the Trojan presence on Italy. Upon Ascanius' death, Silvius, first son of Lavinia and Aeneas, would inherit the kingdom for his family and would hold it for generations. Many years later, the kingdom was ruled under Numitor, son of Procas. His brother, Amulius, seized the throne from his brother despite his father's will and killed Numitor's sons to prevent any future disputes of the throne. Amulius took Numitor's daughter, Rhea Silvia, and forced her to become a Vestal virgin, preventing her from giving birth on fear of death. When she came to be pregnant, she blamed the god Mars. Rhea was thrown in prison, and the twins that she gave birth to were brought to the Tiber to be laid to rest. The river was too high, so the soldiers placed the boys in the marsh to be taken by the elements. When the water eventually receded, a wolf came upon the boys and nurtured them to life. Eventually, a nearby herdsman came upon the family and took the boys from the wolf, naming them Romulus and Remus. He would raise the boys to adulthood. As the boys came to age, they decided to raid a group of marauding brigands who lived nearby. In their attempt, Remus was captured, and Romulus just managed to escape. The men brought Remus to the local landowner, the overthrown Numitor. Upon hearing the story of the twins, he concluded that his grandchildren would be about this age now, and he explained to Remus his origins. The herdsman also explained to Romulus his origin, knowing that Remus was in Numitor's custody. Upon hearing this news, the twins formed a plan to overthrow Amulius. With Romulus leading one group and Remus another, the two surprised the king and killed him. Numitor was restored to the throne, and the two decided to create a new city at the location where they had been found by the wolf. When they arrived, they fell into an argument on the matter of who would rule the new city. They decided to give the decision to the gods, and the two men went to two separate hills, Romulus to the Palatine and Remus to the Aventine, to await a sign. 6 vultures then landed at Romulus's feet, showing his position as declared by the gods. Remus remained unsatisfied, and the two brothers fought. Remus was killed, and Romulus became the first king of Rome. Over time, the city's population grew, as the outcasts from the surrounding cities began to flock to Rome. The undesirables eventually grew to a large enough population to create Rome's first legion of 3,000 able-bodied men. The more wealthy of the population formed the first council of 100 senators to help the king govern the plebeians. The city's population was disproportionately male, and in order for Rome to have a future, Romulus would need to find women. When the men of Rome traveled outside the city's confines, they found the fathers of the women nearby wouldn't allow their daughters to marry the vile Romans. To settle this issue, Romulus invited all of the neighboring people to a great festival to celebrate the god Neptune. During the celebration, the Romans all suddenly abducted the attending women, and the men were forced to flee. The foreign men attempted to retrieve their women several times, but the Romans continued to fight them off. But one tribe, the Sabines, had not yet attacked. They bribed a young girl to let them into the citadel and took it before the Romans could react. In response, Romulus gathered an army and attacked the stolen citadel. As the battle raged on, the Sabine women intervened and begged their fathers and husbands to stop fighting, and pleaded with them to understand that their tribes were now intertwined. The two groups heard the woman's plea and decided to join together. The Sabine king, Titus, ruled jointly with Romulus, and the Senate doubled in size, consisting of 100 Sabines and 100 Romans. Romulus formed the first citizen assembly, dividing the tribes into 10 groups each. naming each after a captured Sabine woman. Each group had one vote, which could be used to elect magistrates or to enact new laws. The unification also saw the doubling of the legions to a total of 6,000 men. Titus ruled jointly with Romulus for 5 years, but was killed in a mob in the city of Levidium. Romulus decided to remain neutral in the matter. The Sabines were furious, but feared Romulus, so they remained quiet. Romulus became the sole ruler of the people and developed the Romans to a respectable status in Italy. One day while Romulus was reviewing the legion, a storm erupted and clouds surrounded Romulus. Lightning struck, and when the clouds faded, Romulus had disappeared. 6 more kings would come to rule Rome succeeding Romulus. Numa Pompilius, elected by the citizen assembly after the exit of Romulus. Tullius Hostilius, then elected after the death of Numa. Ancus Marcius, grandson of Numa, elected after the death of Tullius. Lucius Tarquinius Priscus, the first Etruscan king of Rome, became regent after the death of Ancus and was eventually elected king. Servius Tullius seized kingship after the assassination of Lucius. Lucius Tarquinius Superbus, who assassinated Servius and took the throne. Lucius would be the last of the Roman kings. While he was away on a campaign, his son raped a noblewoman. The Roman noblemen had enough of the tyrannical leadership of the king and the royal family. They gained the support of the Roman aristocracy and the people, and expelled Lucius with the support of the army. The Roman kingdom had been ended, and the Republic elected the first 2 consuls to rule the city. The Republic had been formed. Stay tuned next episode for the Roman Republic.